Right then, this is a quick walk around video. This is for a really lovely looking car. This is a Honda Civic 1.8 Sport, finished in this lovely metallic blue. It's absolutely stunning on the car. It's got a terrible name, unfortunately. It's called Sporty Blue Metallic, believe it or not. Anyway, that's by the way. This car's covered 85,000 miles. It's in lovely condition. It really, really is. New style front end, looks brilliant on the cars. Really clean. Lights and lenses are clear and intact. No cracks or condensation in those. Bonnet rather, is extraordinarily clean. Only a handful of incredibly light stone chips. Near side, really smooth in the panel work. Coming around the back of the car, you get kind of the black diffuser smoked glass on these later versions. It's all very subtle additions, but they look really, really nice. There are a couple of, just to show you, obviously been touched in over the years, a couple of little touch-ins where people have caught something on the back there, but I'm trying to find anything that's immediately obvious. Offside of the car, driver's side, lovely and smooth. And the remaining panel work is very, very clean indeed. Externally, apart from the odd, very minor blemish, which is completely in keeping with the mileage, it's in fantastic condition. Coming to the boot area now, absolutely cavernous boots. They really are huge and all in very, very nice condition back here. It's coming to the back of the car now. Wide opening rear doors, virtually to 90 degrees. Loads of room, and unlike most Civics, which have been used very heavily by families, this one's been given far, far easier life. Let's come inside on the front here, passenger side. Again, all very clean and tidy. Finally coming on the driver's side, again, very, very clean. Footwell areas likewise, driver's seat, really, really good condition. Right, so inside the car now, engine's running as I always have, so the dash can be seen illuminated. Dashboard is in beautiful condition again. Information screen and radio, you can see there working clearly. Pop the car into reverse. Got that lovely big clear gridded parking camera, all working exactly as intended. It's been kept really nicely, I have to say. And then the view you get of these fantastic dashboards are absolutely stunning. It really does. If I just go across here for you, hopefully you can see 85,459 miles. And there are no warning lights on the dashboard at all. Finally, just to show you, owner's manual, pack and lock and wheel nut key are both here and present with the car. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic, and it's a 1.8 Sport. This particular car is registered VK15, I can't read it, OZN. Mileage currently showing on the car is 85,451 miles. The reason for doing all of our videos is very simple. It's to ensure that if people are online looking at any of our cars, they get to see the very advertised car in operation, or very car advertised rather. The reason being is that, you know, like loads of people, we've been to see cars of which have looked absolutely grand in photographs and the description, but only to get there and find out they've got an obvious fault that shows up while you drive the car. So that's why we do it. We also do it on these very quiet country roads, very close to our premises, and this actually forms part of the road test route we take our customers on, and the theory being that hopefully it'll be representative of what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, these are lovely, lovely cars to drive, I have to say, so I don't want to be a complete spoiler about it, but they really are. The engine starts absolutely instantly and settles to a smooth, even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car, and temperature gauge is running at a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be on a Honda vehicle. The engines are an absolute peach. They're just lovely in every way. They're typical Honda in the sense that they are with just normal, fairly regular servicing, pretty much bomb-proof. They just go on and on and on and on and on, and they sound sweet for hundreds of thousands of miles, generally speaking. And this one's no different. It's just a lovely unit. It's got a sweet engine note, very quiet in operation, but when you do extend it, it's not raucous like so many engines. It's got that lovely induction noise you get with Honda cars, and it's very flexible. It's as happy tootling around town as it is opening its lungs out on the open road, and it's so docile in nature. It really is. In terms of fuel economy, they're amazing. They really are. It all obviously depends on how you drive the car, where you're driving it, where you live, what type of driving you're doing. But generally speaking, I have had numerous 1.8 Civics and average somewhere between 40 and 50 to the gallon, and it is quite, it'll vary on type of driving I'm doing, but the economy comes very easily to them. They are cam chain driven as well, by the way. No cam belts to worry about in them at all. Engine then feeds through into the clutch and gearbox of the car. Clutch on the car, absolutely perfect. Bike points exactly where it's meant to be. It's lovely and smooth in operation. The gear change, again, is simply brilliant. Honda, like pretty much every other manufacturer these days, if you've got a front wheel drive car, transverse engined, most gear changes are cable operated, so but that also means you can end up with some really horrible, lifeless, vague, all the sort of things about gear changes I loathe and despise. Honda make a real priority of those. The main primary controls, if not all of them, should feel absolutely brilliant to hold, to activate, and you should enjoy using them. And the gear change is part of that. And that gear change feels as though that gear lever goes directly into gearbox, which it doesn't. It's just got a lovely mechanical feel to the gear change. Solid, satisfying in every single way, and that feels exactly as it would have done when it was new. I can feel no wear in it at all, which is common for them. Coming to the steering and chassis, which again just keeps, plaudits keep coming. First and foremost, it tracks absolutely dead straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But the power steering system is superb. Unlike so many, again, modern cars with electric power steering, which this has, quite often they can feel light, lifeless, vague, or again, just horrible. This is the opposite of those. It's got a nice weighting to it. It's quick to respond. It's pinpoint accurate, and it works in absolute harmony with the chassis, because that's not always the case. Because what the chassis gives you is that rare balance between, and one where they've been successful in giving you a compliant, comfortable ride. And this road surface is horrible here, by the way, which is why I choose to talk about it generally at this section, because if a car can ride this well, it'll ride any part well, and it does it beautifully without any sort of knocks or clonks coming from underneath the car at all. But where it is brilliant is, again, with the steering involved. When you turn into a corner, it sits lovely and flat. It's got an enthusiasm to the chassis, a keenness to change direction, a confidence through all the corners, off camber, on camber, long constant radius ones, tighter ones. It just takes everything you can throw at it. It's simply brilliant. It really, really is. And it's why so many people buy these who may have, need more practicality in their lives, started a family, that kind of thing, but may have come from some more sporty cars, but don't want to get into a car and feel as though they're just completely given up on their driving, and they still want something back. And this is where the Civics are superb, because they are really, really nice to drive in all circumstances. I'm just going to give the brakes a bit of a thump, get up to speed, make sure no one's directly behind me. Which they aren't, so just give it a nice hard thump. Really good brake pedal on the car. What I'm looking for is basically that the bite's good, which it is, but there shouldn't be any kind of pulsing or vibrations coming back through the brake pedal, and there's none at all. It's absolutely spot on. Let's refresh my mind. All that kind of stuff will be checked anyway, because the car will be going in for a independent MOT over the next couple of days or so. So all these things are going to be checked, but we're pretty confident they're very good indeed. Finally, to come inside the car, which has yet to be cleaned, but it's very clean in here already. But it'll be smartened up, and it's just a lovely, lovely interior. I am biased, and that's why we sell Civics, and that's why we sell Hondas and Lexus. I love them because I think they're just beautifully engineered cars in a kind of rather subtle way. What I've always loved about the Civics, of this generation in particular, they are beautifully put together cars. Not a squeak, not a rattle. You don't feel like you're in a 7-year-old car that's done 80,000 miles. You feel like you're in a much younger car that's just been bolted together. Because this is where if I've got a major axe to grind with the motoring press, it's basically when they test cars, when they're brand spanking new, they assess build quality, which is fine because you're doing how it's just been built. What they rarely do is come back to these cars in 10 years time or 5 years time or 100,000 miles time and see where where the car is in terms of build quality at that point. Because quite often some of the very cars that they say are really well made can be actually quite rattly, and they show really heavy signs of wear and tear quite early on in their lives. And yet the Civics, which they always say they're nicely put together, but it's always kind of Golf, Audi, Volkswagen, that kind of stuff, the German stuff, which they are well made. But in the real world of motoring, this is where these are head and shoulders above pretty much everything else. Because there are no squeaks, there is very little sign of any wear inside the car. These are beautifully put together cars. So I'm just going to zip by this. It's just a lovely place to sit. The finish inside the car, the little sort of pseudo kind of carbon fibre look to things. It's just absolutely fantastic in the car, and also the dash design itself is very interesting to look at and behold, but also eminently practical. It really is. It's a beautifully done interior, but that is an opinion. I readily admit it, but I like the fact that they've tried to be different, but also based on the fact they're doing it not just to sort of give you something that's sort of nice looking, but something that's actually very, very practical to use. The layout of the dashboard is designed deliberately to sort of feed that kind of information back to you, but in a very, very clever way. The most conventional part, the centre stack here, so you've got the big radio there, DAB radio with information display. Below that you've got your climate control system, so you can have different temperatures side to side because it's dual zone. That pumps out ice cold air, by the way, checked. All the switchgear, as with all Hondas, has a beautiful quality of actuation. The damping of the switchgear is brilliantly done. But what's clever is the fact that when you activate something like the radio, the information that comes up on the upper display there, also the ventilation system, so you're not having to look down into the car to take that information in. But the best bit, bar none, is this two-tier part of the dash where you've got the speedo, because basically that's the one you're looking at most of the time. But it's there, upper section, all by itself. You can clearly see it at all times, so you just hardly take your eyes off the road at all. You can see it at your peripheral vision. It's genius. Below that, your normal pod. We've got 3 dials there, rev counter rather, flanked by the temperature gauge and fuel gauge on the car. Steering wheel, nice thick rimmed, leather bound, sporty feel to it. Feels like it's got virtually no wear in it at all, by the way, as well. These are fantastic cars. They are probably dearer than their competitors, but for very good reason. Very few, well, none are as reliable, let's put it that way. Virtually none are as well built, and very few are as satisfying to drive and own. So that's why, basically, that's why they're particularly sought after. And this one drives absolutely beautifully. I cannot fault it in any way. As always though, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call.